Welcome back and thank you for staying with KTN Prime. Now, as we mentioned earlier before we took that break, we want to focus on issues of national interest. There has been a rise in concerns from issues of transparency, accountability to the blatant disregard of the law. That's what we want to talk about here. And joining me for this conversation, I'll start with the ladies. Diana Gishengo, who is the Executive Director at TISA, which is the Institute for Social Accountability. That is TISA Kenya. And next to her, Kevin Osido, Executive Director, County Governance Watch. Good evening and thank you so much for making time. Osido said it was really raining when you were coming in, so thank you.
Did you see the rain?
No.
Where did you guys come from? Or where did you ladies
Clearly,
come from?
No.
There's something that you're not telling us, Osido.
No, it is pouring cats and dogs. Is it cats and mouse? Mice?
Cats and dogs.
And dogs.
Yes.
Yeah. It's heavily raining. Well, it was.
Okay.
It was raining when I was coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just dive into the conversation. And a lot has happened, especially between yesterday and today. I mean, yesterday we saw the former Senator Cleophas Malala get arrested. He says he was taken to Eldama Ravine, all because of that play, Echoes of War. And let's start with that, because what we saw today morning shocked so many Kenyans. Students were tear gassed. Their supporters were equally tear gassed, which is raising so many questions. But then let's start with that. This issue of political satire. Why is it that political satire is a thorn in the flesh of the government from where you sit?
Let's just think about art and historically. When we're doing history, there were prophets who prophesied, oh, a snake would come. After the prophets, we've not had prophets, we've only had artists. So think of your Miriam Makeba, think of Ngugi wa Thiong'o, and everything that they have done. Whatever they sang or even scripted was actually announcing what is about to come. And they say it, artists are such intellectuals. They say it in a very different way. Butere Girls are just our mirror. They are our mirror. And so if our politicians have refused to look at themselves in the mirror, our children are telling us exactly as it is. Now, this is a shame of a government brutalizing girls, young girls who are speaking the truth. You can try and target the playwright, but you saw the conviction of all the students who are in Nakuru. A solidarity of knowing we are speaking our truth. A truth that currently the streets are unsafe. So we thought theaters would be a good place because thereafter, after the music, the drama, this is faster, drama festival. After the drama festival, the analysis would lead everybody to know that these are the issues that our youth, together with our students, together with our teachers, are seeing. Now, arms like the NIS should have been there with their best brain, watching, listening, not coming to issue threats. Because that particular generation, they will vote in 2027 and they will be our leaders in 2032. When they say they are echoes of war, with everything that we are seeing around resources, there is no money. There is no money, there are no services. Why does the government want to reduce us to scavengers? So they are saying you're courting war. It may be a digital war, it may be an artistic war, but ultimately it is a war of a class that is no longer comfortable being oppressed. But the echoes of war are met with roars of arrows. Why? We're already going to war. You don't even try to stop the war. I think we have serious folly in our political class.
Okay.
Serious folly. This is utter foolishness. Utter foolishness of the political class You cannot hate accountability and getting views from your people to this extent. Surely, I am hoping that there will be many plays, including Butere Girls, that would have made their way to State House. And at that point, the President, Dr. Samoei Ruto, the First Lady, Mama Rachel Ruto, alumni of Butere Girls, will take time. And this time they will say more genuine prayers. And say, God give us wisdom to lead this country in the right way.
Okay.
Yeah.
And even Jesus said, let the children come to me. The judiciary has said, let the children come to Kenyans. What other wisdom do we need?
Okay, Osido, I can see you already removing your constitution. Well, before you do that, I mean, those allied to the government have accused Malala of politicizing art. From where you sit, who is politicizing this particular play? Because for many Kenyans out there, they didn't even know it existed until all this drama that we're seeing.
Thank you so much. And the politicking and whoever is politicizing is really the people who are against this particular play. Because the paradox is, how can it go through the zonals? Then it goes through the regional level. And then suddenly it is at this level, and that's when you get surprised that, oh, there is echoes of war. And then you see the degree of reaction. Tear gassing children, attempting to arrest the director. Let's now look at this individual, the subject matter, as an active participant in the plot. He's a director of a play. And he says, I have been writing and directing, and this is my 87th, or is it 82nd?
Yeah.
Where have all these people been? And if you look at the kind of people who are actually attacking, you wonder where they were when Mheshimiwa Malala was doing his scripts and directing plays that a majority of them have actually gotten to the national level. If you look at some of those faces, even the kind of English that they speak is one that cannot even get into a paragraph of a storybook. They have an opportunity to learn from what is happening within the nation. And now that learning needs to be juxtaposed with where they are. Very strong, powerful men and women, and in this case, men in government. It is not an opportunity for you to want to oppress people. And particularly because if you look at why I was looking at the Constitution, Article 33 gives every Kenyan the right, rather the freedom of expression.
Yeah.
So how are we supposed to express ourselves? How are children who are in school exercising what really they are being taught? And remember that we also have something called CBC that has streams. There is STEM, there is sports and arts. So how are they supposed to exercise, to practice, to showcase what they have already learned in school? So in my view...
They're even supposed to host Hollywood.
Precisely. In fact, we even went to that
well,
place.
That's a different angle.
That place we went to in the US, you know,
Yeah.
with the hope that we would bring a similar thing, carry the one in the US to Kenya, and then we recruit as many young people, the ones that we are tear-gassing today, to now go and execute, exercise, practice, and bring out the best of what we have in Kenya. So it is an unfortunate occurrence that happened today. Of course, we all know it's not the first time that Mheshimiwa Malala is also going through a controversial writing like this one. I think the other one was Shackles of Doom, right?
Yes, in 2013.
In 2013.
Yeah.
10 or 12 years down the line, we get ourselves here. It's an opportunity for us to learn, honestly, and ask ourselves, where are we, what are we doing, and what are some of the best lessons that we can get from this kind of experiences.
All right, and the whole issue has elicited some reactions from some government officials. Let's just look at some. The CS for Education, that is Julius Migos, says Section 9 of the TSC Code of Conduct on Evaluation of Learners states that only teachers are tasked with assessing and training learners fairly and professional. Further saying that we cannot allow people to weaponize school children against authority. The CS for Interior, Kipchumba Murkomen, says, and he urges politicians to keep off matters involving school-going children, and says national theatres are available to those who want to pen adult-themed plays. We'll be looking at what Malala just said, but let's just look at that. I mean, Article 33, as Osido has mentioned, provides and guarantees the freedom of expression. I mean, Diana, coming to you, so then from the events that we're seeing right now, does it mean when students and teachers cross that gate of a school, then their freedom of expression changes? Because clearly they had a right to showcase, and here we are seeing it being oppressed.
It's very curious because when it said whether you have somebody who is in the military, if they are not properly grounded in the social and the political context, they're just criminals. They must know our values and our principles. Lately, and especially in the last 3 years, the national drama and music festivals have spoken very clearly to our national values and principles. Article 10. Everything from ethnicity to use of brute force, to the disregard of the participation of the people, telling us the ideals that we need to have. Now, Osido, what was your earlier career? I'm a lawyer. I'm a lawyer. That's
Yes.
my background.
Should I say I'm a teacher?
You are?
Yeah, see.
Osido, you are?
I'm a social scientist.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I was a teacher, then I join politics, okay? Then I'm no longer elected. I go back to the skills that I have, okay? So, if it's about drawing the line of conflict of interest, the people in power and the businesses they do, those lawyers who continue to have law firms, have bigger offenses than what they are purporting around Teacher Service Commission. Okay? If it's about the fact that only teachers can write plays, direct them, write musical pieces, then TSC has been sleeping for too long, for far too long.
Because why now?
Why now? I don't know where they went to school, but all our schools we had external playwrights and directors. We went to nationals, schools. The play, I acted in The Shadow of the Serpent, went to national, 2000 in Meru, from a good school. But it was a very, very political play. Okay? It was about the values that, how we can fight for land to the point of killing each other. Equally political, nothing very innocent. Look at the set books that are in schools and things like that. Think of music festivals. Who coaches schools? Some have music teachers. Those particular technical, artistic lessons, most of the times from aviation to music, they get external trainers. It is a very good time for choir and composers, mainly from the SDA and Catholic Church, to go and transfer their skills, their guidelines. And there's always a school teacher who is in charge. The content is vetted throughout. But like Osido said, how comes it's only an issue when it comes to the national level? Are there different standards for what is okay to be showcased at the ward level? Then when you come to, I think the next one is sub-county, the county and the region and so on. The standards ought to be the same. But ultimately, freedom of expression, even in the Children's Act, is guaranteed. In the African Charter, it is very clear. It includes cultural and artistic expression. So when we protect and get the best interest of the child, we cover all that particular ground. Now, for this to have been zeroed down to Malala, without thinking about the best interest of the children of Butere is truly unfortunate of the Kenyan state. Because you can get your ways of getting back when you come to the political space. But the people who brought politics to Butere is the Kenyan state.
All right.
Not Malala, not the girls. When you get to the point of traumatizing people who've invested their time to rehearse and so on, at the very end, they are not sure whether they are performing or not. Surely there are better ways of dealing with that. And think about it. If this play had been screened properly, we all decide, and thereafter they decide this was very political. Deal with it thereafter. Honestly, who would have died? Nobody. This is about consciousness.
Okay.
If you have beef or things to do with Cleophas, keep our children out of it. And this is somebody who's been writing in schools through and through. And in the Kenyan parliament, especially because of Nat and Kupet, the number of teachers who are there and who still do other things are very many. So the bigger problem is, why haven't we thought clearly about conflict of interest beyond this? So protect our children and allow our children to express themselves.
Okay.
Yeah. And why were they tear gassed?
I don't know as well.
They said they were demonstrating. But I just wanted to make an addition to what Diana has said, that it's baffling sometimes that we have very good governance documents. And you mentioned codes of conduct. We are referring to the Constitution. We have policies. We have laws. The question that baffles many, or probably specifically myself, is at what point do we engage with these legislative or governance frameworks? Does it only occur to us that by the way we need to react because we have a code of conduct that stops this? Does the Ministry of Education, for example, because now this is an MOE matter, do they ever induct teachers? As at the point in time when drama festival is happening and they need directors, they need teachers, they need a plot, they need actors, do they take them through these codes of conduct so that Mheshimiwa Malala, for example, doesn't have to be stopped at this point in time at the gate? Why wasn't he stopped at the lowest levels? So it is incumbent upon the ministry and all the governance institutions to think through their roles and responsibilities in creating awareness around these codes of conduct. Remember, actually, that Shackles of Doom, 2013, those were children then. But right now, they're looking at what is happening to their fellow children. Of course, these 10 years, so they're no longer children.
They can relate.
They can relate to. But you see, the question is the government also learning anything around how they reacted to a similar issue then, how the then president acted on a similar issue then? And for me, it would be quite troubling, especially if it is true that the president's hand, like I heard Mheshimiwa Malala saying, and like I've seen in some of the social media platforms, if it is true that the president's hand is in this, then probably we are tackling the wrong things or not dealing with the right issues in this country.
Okay, and you've mentioned the former Senator Cleophas Malala. Let's just listen into what he had to say.
Wakanileta hapa kwenye Nakuru Central Police Station, lakini baada ya muda mchache wakanitoa tena na Subaru, wakaniweka kwenye buti ya Subaru, wakanipeleka kwa msituni. Tumetembea nao masaa 4 usiku kwenye buti ya Subaru. Hawaniambii niko wapi, lakini zilikuwa eneo za Baringo, mahali penye hata hakuna barabara, hakuna mtu, hakuna lami, ni katikati ya kichaka. Wanakuacha kwenye buti, wanatoka kule nje, wanaanza kuongea kwa masimu. Ilikuwa jambo la kuhofia kabisa. Lakini mwishowe wakanileta sasa pale Elda Maravini. These children, the thought of you thinking that they are children, that's where you go wrong. These are people who are informed. These young children are people who are seeing what is going on in their country, and they have a right to speak. Na mchezo huu hawajataja jina lolote. Mchezo huu umewekwa katika setting, fictional setting, kule Middle East, ambayo inaitwa the Royal Velvet Emirates. Sasa wewe Ruto ulikuwa rais wa Royal Velvet Emirates siku gani? Hawa watoto hawaongei directly juu yako. Wametumia majazi, jina za majazi, symbolism, idioms, metaphors. Wanajienjoy tu wakicheza kwenye mchezo. Kama watoto wanakogopesha hivi. Sasa je, sisi tukikuandama 2027, si utaua kila mtu katika nchi hii?
All right, so number one, there was a court order allowing this play to perform at the Nationals. But there's also another issue that is coming from that, the blatant disregard of law, which has become now rampant in the country.
Yes.
And as you talk about it, maybe we can talk about the use of force. Why are we using police officers to fight political wars in the country?
Because it's the only thing we can win. It is literally just that. And why this is extremely unfortunate is that when the play was stopped, people followed due process. Okay? So all these interpretations of the Teacher Service Commission and so on, they feel like afterthoughts. Because all these ideas should have been adjudicated in the matter that was decided by the High Court. The High Court, in their decision, they looked at it, analyzed, and I will tell you, this is about the rule of law, but it is also about putting the interest of the child, best interest of the child. Butere Girls, most of them are still under 18. They are children. They are brilliant. The law comes extra to protect them. We needed to protect their talent, their emotional health and mental health, which we are now wrecking through this particular process, and said, ensure everything is done to ensure that this play continues as required.
Okay.
Then, instead, what do? We deploy a battalion of police. For what? Not to enforce the court order, but to ensure that whoever tried to stop the play feels that they have achieved their end goal. What was their end goal? Did the court miss it? No. This is just outright intimidation and repression. It is outright intimidation and repression of anybody who dares to bring progressive ideas in a government that cannot follow through any of their ideas.
Okay.
They just can't follow through. So I think the use of police is part of the continuation of a colonial state. You know, the colonial state, there was no constitution. And then a team of leaders who only think that they wield power, they do not see the responsibility they hold under the Constitution. So they will undermine every single organ. They undermine our children, they undermine the judiciary, they'll undermine the media as they try to broadcast this particular play. I hope they won't undermine social media when we try to follow through, when finally it is screened. The script is now out. We will learn this play by heart. We will learn it by heart.
All right. I know, Sida, you want to jump in, but before you do, let's just take a short commercial break. We'll be back.
No problem.